So, back for week 7 of the XDL, and I'm going to be facing Fevzi and the Lavandia Gengars this week. So, this is the team I'm going to be bringing. I'm not bringing either of my tier 1 picks to this match. So, Tapu Fini kind of sucks in every single match, but it's not actually that great here. And then Kartana is, not good at all. So, I'm not going to be bringing the tier 1s, so I'm going to have to rely on my more niche picks here. But that is absolutely fine. That is exactly what I am good at doing. So, going to be going with this Articuno here, with Tailwind and Trick Room. That was one of the nice things that I liked about Articuno, Galarian form, way over Cresselia as well. Lots more flexibility than Cresselia to be able to go for Tailwind as well as the Trick Room. It can do pretty much the same things as a Cresselia could, without like Helping Hand or Icy Wind or whatever, but can go on the offensive. As you can see there, once again going to be holding the weakness policy. There's things like a Spectria that can Shadow Ball the Articuno. I can't survive a Max Phantasm, but I can survive up to a Life Orb Shadow Ball from the Spectria. So, Spectria would have to Dynamax to be able to one-shot my Articuno, which is really nice. And then if they do Dynamax, and if it's against the Articuno, that's theoretically very early, and then I can go for a late-game Dynamax to be able to reverse sweep them, because Articuno is almost certainly going to be my lead. I'm going to be very surprised if I don't end up leading with Articuno if I bring it to the match. But basically I've got two modes to the team. I've got a fast mode and I've got a slow mode. So Tailwind is going to be there if I lead with Articuno and then say one of my Airstreamers, as you can see, Dragonite or Zapdos. And just lead with one of them, go for Airstream and Tailwind to match the Tailwind that can come out from the Whimsicott, and then I'll still be faster in that case. Just really needed Freezing Glare as coverage. Didn't really feel the need for anything like Air Slash because Freezing Glare hits what Air Slash would neutrally, and there wasn't really any coverage Articuno gets. That's again one of the downsides of Articuno over the Cresselia. I guess Cresselia has slightly better coverage, but not very offensive. But Articuno really doesn't have coverage, so I just don't care about Heatran. I don't care about Claydol. I think it was one more. Indeedee as well. Oh yeah, another reason. There's an Indeedee there. Surely I should have Expanding Force, right? Because make use of the Psychic Terrain. But no, I'm not going to have Expanding Force on this Articuno because one of the ways of shutting down Trick Room, in fact the only way that could stop Togepi Articuno from allowing me to set up Trick Room would be Imprison on the Indeedee male. So I don't want to have Expanding Force as my only attacking move on Articuno, because I only want the Psychic move, and then if I get Imprisoned on the Indeedee out of the Expanding Force as well, then that's going to be incredibly awkward. So opting for Freezing Glare would be slightly better in the Psychic Terrain if it was up for Expanding Force, but don't want to get Imprisoned. And Freezing Glare literally cannot be Imprisoned. Like, if I had Psyshock or Psychic, it could potentially be able to, even though it would be Expanding Force on Indeedee. So Freezing Glare just there so I don't get Imprisoned, and it also gives the slight bit of extra power that non-Psychic Terrain Expanding Force would give, so that if I give myself a weakness policy boost, I'll be able to OHKO a Spectria that's just an offensive Spectria that's EV to outspeed a Weavile, so even the little tiny bit of extra bulk, I'll still be able to KO that with a +2 Freezing Glare. And Hypnosis is just there because I'm afraid that Articuno could end up being a bit passive. Say if I want to lead with Togepi and Articuno to effectively guarantee a Trick Room, say I see no Indeedee there, I've got guaranteed Trick Room, then potentially the Articuno and Togepi could go Follow Me Trick Room and then just not really do too much. So Hypnosis is there, kind of like Gothitelle in regular VGC, where you just make use of free turns, like Sing on Clefairy in regular VGC. It's just a nice move to have to stop Articuno being passive. It could do something, whereas it could have done not too much otherwise, other than just being the speed control bot, or whether that's Tailwind or Trick Room. So, Dragonite is going to be a very cool set, I think. So, Dragonite can be part of my fast mode, and it can be part of my slow mode. I absolutely love it when the EVs work out absolutely perfectly. So, the speed stat of the Dragonite, it outspeeds Diggersby, but it underspeeds Heatran when the room service is activated. It worked out so perfectly. That was by 1 for both. Outspeeds Diggersby by 1, underspeeds Heatran by 1. That's no speed Heatran. Min speed would still underspeed me, but if they got no speed, then I would underspeed that Heatran. So, absolutely love it when EVs work out literally perfectly, because it's just so efficient. So, idea behind the Dragonite, because if I'm going the Trick Room mode, I'm going to be going with Articuno, Togepi as a lead, with Berserker and Dragonite in the back, and then Dragonite will still be able to make use of the Trick Room pretty effectively, which I think is quite nice. Or I have the option of just leading with Togepi and Dragonite, go for Follow Me, go for Dragon Dance, and go for a fast mode. So, Yeah, I was debating on the item for Dragonite for quite a while because the Life Orb was taken, couldn't have Assault Vest because I wanted Dragon Dance, Weakness Policy was taken, so took a little while to work out, but as soon as I saw Room Service, that was the one because the EVs just worked out so well. And yeah, it's just going to either set up on sweep or just be in the Trick Room to help the Berserker, pretty much. Dual Wing Beat is the best physical stab for the flying it's going to have. I don't feel the need for Dragon going into this match. And then Earthquake and Thunder Punch are just coverage moves, so I have neutral hits against every single Pokemon, which is really nice. I'm going to most likely be going for the flying moves, but Earthquake's pretty much for Heatran, Thunder Punch pretty much for Gyarados, so that's going to be really nice here. So Berserker is going to be my main Trick Room sweeper. So this is going to be a bit of a funny one because it doesn't have the greatest coverage against Gyarados. There's no Thunder Punch or anything, but apparently a Life Orb Max Lightning coming off of Thunder can OHKO Gyarados, which is hilarious. So I only needed the 20 special attack for that. So if it would have been too much more special attack, I probably wouldn't have bothered, but 20 EVs is nothing, so that's worth an OHKO on a Gyarados, so I'm pretty happy with that. So the moveset is just Gyro Ball mainly for Max Steel Spike. I'm expecting if I go Trick Room, I'm going to Dynamax the Berserker. And with the Steely Spirit, Gyro Ball, or Max Steel Spike, which is still 130 base power off Gyro Ball, is still going to be doing a lot of damage. Close Combat is for the Heatran, and Thunder, like I said, is for the Gyarados. Fake Out is basically there in case I want to go Fake Out Trick Room instead of Follow Me Trick Room, or just Fake Out in general if I lost Dynamax. If I end up having to Dynamax the Articuno or the Dragonite for some reason, then I can stall out a turn, or Pokemon with the Fake Outs. Again, could be Psychic Terrain, so Fake Out could be a bit useless. Probably should be Protect on the Berserker, but, you know, the point of Berserker is to Fake Out, so I'm expecting to Dynamax it anyway. Maybe I need to go for a Max Strike as Speed Control on the final turn of Trick Room to allow Dragonite to still outspeed. I don't know. But, yeah, if this gets into position, it could potentially sweep the whole team. The Heatran is the main thing that's going to be stopping it. The Diggersby could be a bit awkward, but if I'm in Trick Room, I'll be able to Steel Spike first, and I think I live if I get the Steel Spike first. So really, if I get rid of that Heatran, I could potentially sweep with this Berserker. And the Dragonite is going to be able to help out with that because of the Room Service Earthquake as well. Would end up Earthquaking my own Berserker, but if I got a Steel Spike first, then that should be okay. I could also go for Max Knuckle into the Earthquake. Again, that would hurt my Berserker a lot with the Earthquake, but would be worth to take out the Heatran to potentially sweep with the Berserker. So this is the main sweeper, theoretically, for if I go the Trick Room route. And Togepi is going to help set that up. So it is bulky enough to allow Eviolite over Focus Sash. So the only thing that can really OHKO it is the Diggersby, because I can survive a Spectria Life Orb Max Phantasm with these EVs. This is outspeeding Weavile. Modest has a role, but because I have a Weavile, I'm expecting if Spectria comes and is offensive, then it's going to be timid. It should be timid anyway to outspeed the Weavile in the first place, but able to live that, and then the rest was just into defense. Can survive the Life Orb Gyarados very easily. It's just the Diggersby really, or some random steel coverage. Max Steel Spike from Heatran would still get this Togepi, but really, Togepi is bulky enough to be able to survive most moves, and if a move is able to OHKO it, that move is not hitting the Articuno that turn. If it's a Max Strike from the Diggersby, which would be able to OHKO, that's giving my Articuno both a speed drop to help with Trick Room and a competitive boost, so that would still be fine. So I'm content with the Eviolite, it's bulky enough. Got Ancient Power there just to activate the weakness policy on the Articuno if Togepi is able to survive the turn of Follow Me Trick Room, so that Articuno could get that offensive pressure. So that's where the +2 calc from the Freezing Glare into the Spectria comes from. If Spectria doesn't deal with the Articuno, say it goes for Taunt as I Follow Me in Trick Room, then I can just slide Ancient Power and Freezing Glare and hopefully KO the Spectria in that case, and somewhat help Articuno be an offensive threat rather than just having to spam Hypnosis. And I've got Yawn there as well, so that if Togepi doesn't get taunted, or I don't want to activate my own weakness policy, it can still do something like the Hypnosis. It would do something the next turn, but it would still put on the pressure to force switches or fall asleep the next turn. Helping Hand is there to help out the Dragonite. If I go for the Follow Me route and it's still alive, I can just go for Helping Hand. Max Airstream in that case at +1 should be picking up a lot of KOs. So pretty good, straightforward Togepi, I think, coming forward here, and going to be the debut. I'm hoping it puts in the work and hopefully gets a KO, because there's not going to be too many weeks, I think, that I'm going to be running an offensive move on Togepi. So yeah, I wanted to get a KO so that I can get a KO for all of my Pokemon. Zextree is going to be Choice Scarf this week, so it outspeeds the Gyarados very, very narrowly, but it still does. So even if the Gyarados gets into a position where it gets a Airstream off, my Xurkitree will still outspeed in that case. Of course, they've got Tailwinds with the Whimsicott, but if it's just Airstream from Gyarados, I'll still be able to outspeed and be able to get my electric moves off. So that's the main idea behind the Choice Scarf with Xurkitree here. It's going to be able to outspeed things like the Spectre and the Cavalion as well, and the Indeedee. So there's a few things that it can still outspeed pretty reasonably with the Choice Scarf. Going to be a bit useless if the Whimsicott just sets up Tailwinds and I don't match Tailwind. But Choice Scarf is mainly there to hopefully put a stop to any Gyarados sweeps, but pretty straightforward with the Xurkitree there. It survives an Earth Power from Heatran, then the rest into special attack, so I can do the most amount of damage. Very straightforward. And Zapdos here, going to be Assault Vest, so it can take on the Spectre and the Indeedee a little bit better. Going to be outspeeding the Indeedee. I was debating on whether I just ignore Indeedee, because the next thing, next speed tier would be the Gyarados, and that's a pretty reasonable drop. That goes down to 147, so that's, what, 112 EVs. That can be significant, especially in bulk. And I don't OHKO a Heatran with this attack. I need to go Adamant and get to 183 attack stats. So I was debating, do I go Adamant just to get that guaranteed OHKO on just 252 HP Heatran? Could be a bit more defensive. Or do I outspeed the Indeedee? And I think that outspeeding the Indeedee just to guarantee that I'm not going to take an Expanding Force before I get an attack off, and that attack could be a Throat Chop to just OHKO the Indeedee. I think that's going to be more beneficial, especially because I'm bringing the Zapdos in the fast mode. I'm really not expecting to go with the Trick Room route with Articuno and then bring Zapdos. It's going to be the first 4. Pretty confident it's going to be the first 4 if I do end up going the Trick Room route. So went with the faster Zapdos here. Has the potential to go for Dynamax as well, with the Defiant boosts in the face of Spectria and Diggersby. If I go Togepi and Zapdos, they start going for Max Phantasms or Max Strikes, then another Defiant boost for the Zapdos. Kind of the same thing for the Articuno, which is one of the nice things I like about having the Defiant and the Competitive, because it does somewhat restrict the max moves that can come out from your opponents, or may not restrict them, but they may go for them anyway, but gives me a bonus anyway. So pretty straightforward moveset. Those are the best coverage moves that it can get. So just the 2 stabs, going to hit the Spectria, and it's going to hit the Heatran as well. Those Combat can hit the Heatran, but Stomping Tantrum would be able to 4 times hit it at least, and if I do Dynamax, it would be able to give me max Quake boosts. So yeah, that's going to be the team here. Going to be going in with no tier 1s, going to be going in with this, hopefully, Dynamax Berserker that's going to put in a lot of work. I really want the Berserker to put in work, because it's one of the, it's tier 4 that I managed to get, and I've always wanted Berserker to do well. Maybe this is the week for it.